Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Coach and the Bro Show. I am the bro, Vince Russo, and I am flying solo once again as the great coach. Jonathan Coachman has some personal business he is attending to. And being that we are relatively new on Believe, I wanted to make sure that you got your 2 shows a week from us. And it's been a little tough, man, because it has been the holidays. I do have family here, and that is why I've been burning the midnight oil to try to get these shows done just for you and you alone. So it is almost 10 o'clock here in Colorado, about midnight on the East Coast. Friday morning, I guess, 12 a.m. Friday, East Coast time, and I am recording this for you. I wanted to get it in the can. I want to get it out to you good people tomorrow, man. It is right now the day after Christmas. I hope everybody had a good holiday, man. I hope you got to relax. Hope you got to recharge your batteries a little bit. I hope you got to eat good. I hope you got some good presents. I hope you got to share some great time with the family. I know I have. I had 2 of my 3 kids here. I had my grandkids here. And it's been a wild and wacky week. But there is still work to do. And I literally have just done 3 shows in the last 2.5 hours. So this is show number 4. A little gas left in the tank. And I am going to give you the best show I possibly can. Hopefully, Coach will be able to join us back here next week. You know, I know we're going into the new year. I'm not even exactly sure what day New Year's Eve falls on or New Year's Day. I've lost all track of time, but I am here now. And, you know, it's funny, man, because I've come to a conclusion, and I want to talk about this first. We got some new developments in the Vince McMahon, Janelle Grant lawsuit that I really want to talk about on the second half of this show. But the first half of this show, I want to talk about a New Year's resolution that I've made as it relates to wrestling in 2025. And I do want to publicly thank JBL for me making this New Year's resolution for 2025. And here is my resolution. I am no longer going to respond or entertain the comments of former colleagues of mine who, you know, well into their mid-40s, late 40s, 50s, and 60s, and one even going into their 70s are still marks for the wrestling business. They still live in the bubble. They still want to live in the bubble. It is all they know. They know nothing else. And at this point in my life, no longer am I going to entertain their comments. Am I going to address their comments? Am I going to let their comments get under my skin or bother me? Because you got guys, bro, 45, 50, 60, 70, still playing wrestling characters. Bro, my business in wrestling was over when I left TNA in 2012. I am going on 13 years since I have been out of the mainstream wrestling business. 13 years. And when I left the wrestling business in 2012, this is exactly what I said to myself. I said to myself, as of today, I am no longer in the wrestling business, nor am I putting my eggs in the wrestling business. Primarily because I think there are a lot of idiots running the wrestling business. I think there are a lot of people running the wrestling business who don't have a clue. So I was not going to put my future in their hands. You know, my future is not going to depend on how Triple H and Tony Khan book a wrestling show. So I said to myself back in 2012, going forward, I am in the Vince Russo business. And what that means is I am an entertainer. I am a pundit. I am a critic. I don't work for anybody but myself. Very much, bro, when you turn on the NFL and you see Sterling Sharp, or you see Terry Bradshaw, or you see in baseball, Harold Reynolds, John Smoltz, Mark DeRosa. These are former professional baseball players who are still critiquing and talking about today's game, yet they are no longer a part of it. That's exactly my role. I still talk about today's wrestling game. I still critique it. I still have my opinions on it, but I am no longer a part of that world. And I am no longer a part of that world because I made that conscious decision. I no longer want to be a part of that world. So that is the difference between myself and JBL and Eric Bischoff, and the list goes on and on and on of people in their mid-40s to 50s to 60s to 70s who still want to live in the wrestling bubble. You know, guys, when I started working for the WWE, man, 1994, I believe, is when I started working full time. It literally took me a month to see and get a feel for and understand the wrestling bubble. Now, guys, you got to understand, when I got married, when I got hired by the WWE, I was a married man. I had 2 children. I had my own businesses. I worked for CBS. I'd been around the block a little bit. I was in my 30s. I was not, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'd been around the block. So when I got into the wrestling business, it literally took me maybe a month to figure out what I call the wrestling bubble. And the wrestling bubble is this little world that people who are obsessed by the wrestling business live in. They all live in this little world called the wrestling bubble. And, the rules of the real world don't apply in this wrestling bubble. And, listen, guys, as a happily married man for over 40 years, I looked at this wrestling bubble. What you had, bro, was the majority of men and women cheating on their spouses while they were on the road. And quite frankly, if you're cheating on your spouses, you're cheating on your children. I saw great consumptions of alcohol at bars. I saw great consumptions of drugs at the bars. And I saw, I literally, bro, one night I actually saw a WWE tag team have a puppet show with a woman's chest. And I understood early on, I don't want to be a part of this world. I don't want to be a part of this culture. This is not for me. I don't respect it. I don't like, what these grown-ass adults do. I don't want to be associated with this bubble. I want to come to work. I want to do my job. I want to do the best job I possibly can. And I want to bring a paycheck home to support my family. That was my attitude from day one. I was never a part of this bubble. I never wanted to be a part of this bubble. Therefore, when I left the industry in 2012, I was done being a part of that world. As I said, I am an entertainer. I am a critic. I am a pundit. I have an opinion. But I also work for Russo's brand. And I vowed I will never work for a mainstream company. I have no interest in doing that. Now, guys, let me be perfectly straight about something. If I was flat broke and I had no other way to make money but to go back and be a part of that world, yes. If I had no other choice, bro, but thank God, because of you, because of Russo's brand, I have a choice. And I make a living through my podcasting and through, multiple revenue streams that I have. I do a lot of podcasting. I got a very, popular russosbrand.com, patreon.com/RussoTWC. I do a lot of work for Sportskeeda. I work for a local indie promotion, here in Colorado. I've written my third book. My third book is coming out. I've got paid some good money to do some interviews, make some appearances. So thank God I don't have to go back to the mainstream wrestling business. But, you got the JBLs, you got the Eric Bischoffs, you got the Bully Rays, you got people like that just cannot get away from it. Like, wrestling is still their life 24/7. And it is the most important thing in their life. And in, JBL's case, he just went back to TNA. He's auditioning to have a podcast with Conrad Thompson. So what is he going to do? I'm going to bury Vince Russo because I will get over with the marks that way. And as a mark myself, it is important for me that the marks like me and that the marks are a fan of mine. And I'm not going to entertain that anymore, bro. I'm done playing high school games with high school people. It's freaking over. Okay, the wrestling industry has been in my rearview mirror a long time ago. You know what, bro? If I was in baseball for 30 years like I've been in wrestling, I'd be talking about baseball. If I was in football for 30 years, I'd be talking about football. If I was the road manager of KISS for 30 years, that's what I would be talking about. That's just where my level of expertise is, because I put so many years in that industry. Is that where my heart is? No. Is that where my obsession is? No. I have a real life. I have a family. I have other things that I care about. And, even this show, this is how I make a living. This is a livelihood. Just like all of you listening to this show right now, you go to work every day. Some of you love your job. Some of you hate your job, but you got to go to work every day to bring home the bacon. There are people, depending on you to support them. And let's face it, man, you want to have things. You want to be able to buy things that you want, whether it's a house or a car or whatever it is. So You got to go home and bring the bacon. But you're not obsessed with your job. You're not obsessed with the industry that you're in. Some of you may be. But to me, a job is a job, and that's why they call it a job. So I am not in the wrestling bubble. I have no desire to ever be in the wrestling bubble. I never did. And going forward in 2025, I am no longer going to entertain or respond to marks like JBL, who, in his mid 40s, still wants to live in the bubble. Bro, if that's what you choose for your life, good for you. If wrestling means everything in the world to you and nothing else is as important, good for you. That is not the case with me. I am here to make a living, and hopefully I am here to entertain. So I just wanted to be clear about that. Bro, talk all the shit you want about me. Say whatever you want about me. Bro, if anybody really wants to know about me and about my career, all you got to do is research the numbers. How many people were watching the WWE when Vince Russo was writing? How many people were watching WCW when Vince Russo was writing? How many people were watching TNA when Vince Russo was writing and producing? All you have to do is go look at those numbers. They're on the internet. They're well documented, and they're never going to go away. So I will always say, I will let my numbers and I will let my track record speak for itself, because no matter how badly you wish you could, you will never, ever be able to erase those numbers. All right, guys, I got that off my chest. I am going to come back with the latest in the Vince McMahon, Janelle Grant case right after this. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, I am back just like I promised you. And man, for the last couple of months, the legal issues, the legal case between Vince McMahon and Janelle Grant have kind of been put on hold because the federal government was investigating Vince McMahon. So they asked Janelle Grant's lawyers, just put your lawsuit on hold. Let us conduct our research. Let us do our due diligence. We're looking into Vince McMahon ourselves. Once we're done here, you can you can restart the case. So the federal government wrapped up. There's going to be a new district attorney come January 6th. We don't know if that new district attorney is going to pursue the Vince McMahon case or just, let it lay. We don't know, but we do know that Janelle Grant and her lawyer were given permission to, get the case going again. So, now they're back to interviewing people, putting their case against Vince McMahon together. Now that the federal government have basically told them, okay, we're tapping out for the time being. Do what you've got to do. And like I said, come January 6th, we'll see with this new district attorney what happens with the case and the federal government. But as far as the Janelle Grant case goes, there is a new headline that just came out yesterday. Vince McMahon, WWE file motions attempting to force Janelle Grant case into arbitration. Vince and his lawyers have been trying to get this case to arbitration for a long time. Because what arbitration means to Vince McMahon is the case is settled between himself and Janelle Grant, and all the juicy, ugly, harmful allegations, facts at that point do not get out. So that story does not get out if there is arbitration and Janelle Grant settles for money. And obviously, there are things that Vince McMahon don't want to get out. So arbitration would be his best bet. So the story says lawyers representing Vince McMahon and WWE have filed to move Janelle Grant's lawsuit against their clients to arbitration. PW Insider has reported Grant's lawsuit alleges that she was a victim of sex trafficking and abuse by McMahon and John Laurinaitis while working for the company, and that she hasn't received the compensation she was due after signing an NDA agreement. So Janelle Grant signed a DNA with Vince McMahon based on their relationship, whatever that was, and her not talking about it. However, Ms. Grant says that she didn't receive the full compensation agreed upon, thus the lawsuit. However, McMahon's motion argues that she didn't honor her side of the agreement as she disclosed information about their relationship and the settlement. So Vince's camp is saying they stopped paying her, they stopped compensating her per the NDA agreement because she spoke out on their relationship and she put some information out there. So that's why they stopped paying her, because they felt she was in breach of that NDA agreement. The settlement agreement was drafted when plaintiff and defendant McMahon, who had engaged in a consensual, intimate relationship for approximately 3 years, sought to memorialize the end of that relationship. In January 2022, plaintiff and defendant McMahon, each represented by counsel, negotiated and executed the settlement agreement, with defendant McMahon signing on his own behalf and in his capacity as chairman on behalf of WWE. That agreement, which explicitly sought to avoid any damage caused by public disclosure of private matters known to Grant and McMahon, include, among other provisions, terms for plaintiff's departure from the company where they both worked, the payment of $3 million to the plaintiff, mutual releases, and a comprehensive agreement to arbitrate any and all disputes. The motion, which was filed with the United States District Court for the District of Connecticut on December 23rd, adds that McMahon paid Grant an initial $1 million of the $3 million fee that was originally agreed upon. However, he stopped making payments due to Grant allegedly breaching the agreement. Furthermore, McMahon has denied any wrongdoing and claims that their relationship was consensual. Of course, this isn't the only example of the serious allegations against McMahon. He originally left WWE in 2023 after it was discovered that he used company funds to cover up affairs and alleged sexual misconduct. That said, the Grant case and WWE being sold to Endeavor led to his permanent departure from the WWE. So that is the latest. Vince has been fighting for this arbitration because that is the best case scenario for Vince. Listen, man, we know Vince sold shares of Endeavor and has billions and billions and billions of dollars. So to give Janelle Grant one large, big pile of money in order to prevent any of this story from going out publicly. Other witnesses, other women, other details, other acts of misconduct, getting out would be in Vince McMahon's best interest. And, Vince's case is going to be, we had an agreement, we had an NDA, and then she leaked aspects of our relationship. She leaks how much money the NDA, was worth, which in turn breached the contract, which is why he stopped paying her. That's what this is all about. If Vince McMahon would have continued to pay Janelle Grant that $3 million, this lawsuit would have perhaps never reared its head. But he stopped paying her. When the first part of Vince and his DNAs came out, somebody tipped off Endeavor. And allegedly, how it looks now, I think Vince believed, and his lawyers believed, that Janelle Grant was the one who actually let the cat out of the bag first. That brought on the firing of Vince from the WWE when all of these NDAs came to fruition. Somebody blew the whistle on Vince. I'm sure Vince and his lawyers believe that somebody was Janelle Grant. That's when I believe they stopped paying her. Now, whether or not it was her that spilled the beans, who knows? But obviously, I don't think Vince would have stopped paying her if he didn't think he had, just the law on his side. If he didn't think he didn't have a legal right to stop paying her, I don't believe Vince would have stopped paying her. It would have been a very stupid move. But if Vince had proof and backup that she broke the NDA, then I guess in his mind, that was the justification to stop paying her. However, when we look at $3 million, which is literally $3,000 to Vince McMahon, that is an absolute joke. Whether she let the cat out of the bag or not, an absolute joke for him to not just pay her the $3,000, unless, and again, a lot of this is all alleged. A lot of this is alleged. A lot of this is opinion. A lot of this is speculation. Unless Vince was standing on principle alone. And Vince is a man of principle. He's always going to stand on principle. And for all we know, Vince could have thought, we made a deal. She leaked it. She gave details of our relationship, of the NDA. She broke the contract. Screw her. I'm not paying her the rest of the money. But like I said, it would have been a hell of a lot easier if he would have just paid her off. But here we are. So now we're going to see if this case is going to go through arbitration or it's going to go through the court system. However, there's another detail in this case that broke today, and I am going to come back with that right after this. Stick around. The plot thickens. I am back, everybody, and we got more news today as it relates to the McMahon Grant lawsuit. And I literally just read this before I went on the air, and I am looking for it. And here it is. John Laurinaitis joins Vince McMahon in new attempt to throw out Janelle Grant lawsuit. Former WWE head of talent relations, on-screen general manager John Laurinaitis is taking the lead of his former boss Vince McMahon in an attempt to throw out a lawsuit filed against them both by former WWE employee Janelle Grant. On Wednesday, lawyers for both McMahon and WWE filed a motion to move Grant's sex trafficking and sex abuse lawsuit to arbitration. We just spoke about that, arguing that Grant didn't honor her side of an NDA agreement as she disclosed information about a relationship with McMahon in the settlement. On Thursday, according to PWI Insider, lawyers for Laurinaitis filed a similar motion requesting the lawsuit be sent to arbitration, backing McMahon and the WWE. So obviously, McMahon and Laurinaitis lawyers are working together. According to the outlet, Laurinaitis claimed that as a full-time employee of the company, it was his understanding that he was listed as a released party from any and all lawsuits or causes of action from plaintiff Grant. The filing also claimed that the former executive believes the only method to resolve any issues stemming from the settlement signed by Grant is arbitration. The motion McMahon filed states that the agreement he and WWE entered with Grant included an arbitration clause, meaning that any dispute arising under or out of their agreement would be arbitrated. So Vince had some foresight into all of this and trying to ever prevent this from going to a court of law. And Grant violated that by filing the civil lawsuit. Grant's legal team is required to respond by January 13. McMahon has denied any wrongdoing and has claimed, even within the most recent motion, that his relationship with Grant was consensual. Grant's lawyers alleges that McMahon recruited others within WWE to have sexual relations with her, including Laurinaitis, which led to the former executive being her direct boss. So obviously now we can see that Laurinaitis lawyers and McMahon lawyers are working together, trying to do everything in their power for this case to be settled in arbitration. And I don't know, Janelle Grant's lawyer has said through and through that they are going through with this case. She has kind of said that they have no interest in a settlement or any type of an arbitration hearing. But guys, come on, man. We all know that money talks. And if the initial payment was $3 million and supposedly Vince paid her $1 million, so he shortchanged her $2 million. If now an arbitrator comes in and says Janelle Grant is entitled to $5 million, is she going to turn that money down? Is her attorney going to turn that money down? Because now we just doubled the $3 million and we just went to $6 million. Or will Janelle Grant and her lawyer stand on principle as perhaps Vince McMahon did himself when this whole thing started? Bro, again, this is all alleged. This is all opinion. This is all speculation. We are not going to know until and unless the story comes out. That is it for today's show, everybody. Please check me out at russosbrand.com. Check out patreon.com/RussoTWC. Check out Coach Jonathan Coachman, Drive the Line. Check it out. Hopefully, Coach will be back with me next week. My thanks to Producer Man for all his great work. And guys, you can actually see this on the Coach and Bro Show YouTube channel if you are a visual guy. That is it, everybody. I hope you have a happy new year, man. Stay safe. Don't drive and drink. Don't do anything crazy. Life is way too precious. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.